Welcome to the video and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you find the video helpful. It doesn't cost you anything, it just basically gets it out to a wider audience. The video is about the Jaguar produced 2-litre diesel Ingenium engines. The main reason for its failure and why those failures only affect a small percentage of the cars produced. So it means the highest percentage of cars are still driving around trouble-free. Having said that, engines can fail for a number of reasons other than what I'm going to say, but this basically would explain why it's a few of the vehicles and why there's a lot of parts, different parts in the engine are affected. Jaguar have known about this fault. The manual I read, I think, was produced in 2011, and I know that was on the 2.7 3-litre engines, but that's a long time ago. I would think they've probably known about it from the start, or if they didn't, then they're not very good engineers. It started off, I think, in the 2.7 S-type diesel, which was produced from 2004 to 2007. So 2007's mainly affected. I'm not sure if it was fitted in the late 2006, but it's all to do with the DPF and the regeneration system that supports it and helps it work, basically gets it hot enough. It obviously then went on to the XFs and the 2.7 3-litre XFs, then the 2.2 XFs, and then the 2-litre Ingenium diesel engines. They're all diesel engines, by the way, and I'm not talking about petrol engines. This is across the board with the Range Rover, Land Rover, Range Rover and the Jaguar side. So it's JLR across the board basically with these engines and this system fitted. It can affect the earlier cars. I'll explain to you why that is later, but I'm not sure about that, but it's possible it can affect the earlier cars. Right, we'll talk about the fuel injection sequences first, so then you'll have an idea of why I'm reading the rest. Okay, during certain engine operating conditions, each injector is able to deliver a sequence of up to 5 injections during a single injection cycle. So if you're talking a 6-cylinder engine, you're talking 30 injections. If you're talking a 4-cylinder engine, you're talking 20 injections. A typical sequence of an injection cycle of 5 individual deliveries is as follows. The 2 pilot injections, that's before the main injection, the main injection, and then the 2 post injections during the diesel particulate filter DPF regeneration phase. The pilot injection phase is delivered ahead of the main charge of fuel. This produces a steady flame front and creates a progressive pressure rise in the cylinder. The pilot injection phase reduces the lag between the injection of fuel and combustion occurring. This allows the remaining charge of fuel to be injected while combustion is taking place. This injection principle can be used to reduce combustion noise, vibration and harshness, NVH, and exhaust emissions. On vehicles installed with an exhaust system DPF, the high pressure fueling system provides a post-injection phase of fuel into the combustion chambers. During the regeneration stage of the DPF, the PCM allows fuel to be injected into the combustion stroke and into the commencement of the exhaust stroke. The post-injection phase causes fuel to burn in the exhaust system, creating high exhaust gas temperatures required to regenerate the DPF. And this is the main cause. I mean, a lot of this fuel is going past the piston rings into the engine oil, or the engine oil, mixing with the engine oil and diluting the engine oil. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll just read, it's just a quick thing to explain everything. Okay, You have two phases of regeneration. You have a passive phase and an active phase. Passive regeneration requires no special engine management intervention and occurs during normal engine operation. The passive regeneration involves a slow conversion of the particulate matter deposited in the DPF into carbon dioxide. This process occurs when the DPF temperature exceeds 250 degrees centigrade or 482 degrees Fahrenheit, and is a continuous process when the vehicle is being driven at higher engine loads and speeds. During passive regeneration, only a portion of the particulate matter is converted into carbon dioxide. This is because the chemical reaction, which utilises nitrogen dioxide, is slower than the rate of engine production of particulate matter and is effective from 250 degrees centigrade, 482 Fahrenheit. Above 580 degrees centigrade, the conversion efficiency of the particulates into carbon dioxide rapidly increases. These temperatures are generally only achieved using the active regeneration process. That's the passive regeneration. Now we go on to the active regeneration. Active regeneration starts when the particulate loading of the DPF reaches a threshold as monitored or determined by the DPF control software. The threshold calculation is based on driving style, distance travelled and back pressure signals from the differential pressure sensor. When they say driving style, they're basically talking about pottering around in urban speed limits, going to school, dropping the kids off, or shopping, or doing whatever you do locally. Active regeneration generally occurs every 250 miles, 400 kilometres, although this is dependent on how the vehicle is driven. For example, if the vehicle is driven at low loads in urban traffic regularly, active regeneration will occur more often. This is due to the rapid build-up of particulates in the DPF than if the vehicle is driven at high speeds, when passive regeneration will have occurred. The DPF software incorporates a mileage trigger which is used as a backup for active regeneration. If active regeneration has not been initiated by a back pressure signal from the differential pressure unit sensor, regeneration is requested based on distance travelled. Active regeneration of the DPF is commenced when the temperature of the DPF is increased to the combustion temperature of the particles. The DPF temperature is raised by increasing the exhaust gas temperature. This is achieved by introducing post-injection of fuel after the pilot and main fuel injections have occurred. It is determined by the DPF software monitoring the signals from the two DPF temperature sensors to establish the temperature of the DPF. Depending on the DPF temperature, the DPF software requests the powertrain control module PCM to perform either one or two post-injections of fuel. The first post-injection of fuel is associated with retarded combustion to increase the temperature of the exhaust gas and therefore allow the oxidization catalyst to reach its operational temperature. Oxidation, I should say, they're not oxidation. The second post-injection of fuel is injected late in the power stroke cycle. The fuel is not intended to combust in the cylinder, and hence unburnt fuel passes into the exhaust where it creates an exothermic event within the catalytic converter, further increasing the temperature of the DPF. The active regeneration process takes up to 30 minutes to complete. The first phase increases the exhaust gas temperature to ensure the catalytic converter is active. The second phase further increases the DPF temperature to the optimum temperature for particle combustion. This temperature is then controlled for 15 to 20 minutes to ensure complete oxidization of the particles within the DPF. The oxidization process converts the carbon particles to carbon dioxide. The active regeneration temperature of the DPF is closely monitored by the DPF software to maintain a target temperature at the DPF inlet. The temperature control ensures that the temperatures do not exceed the operational limits of the turbocharger and the catalytic converter. The turbocharger inlet temperature must not exceed 830 degrees centigrade or 1526 degrees Fahrenheit. The catalytic converter brick temperature must not exceed 800 degrees centigrade or 1472 degrees Fahrenheit, and the exit temperature must remain below 875 degrees centigrade or 1382 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you have air management control during DPF regeneration, which the DPF air management function controls the following: EGR control, turbocharger boost pressure control, intake mass airflow. During active regeneration, the EGR operation is disabled, and the closed loop activation of the turbocharger boost control is calculated. To a predetermined mass flow, this control is required to achieve the correct in-cylinder conditions for the stable and robust combustion of the post-injection fuel. If due to vehicle usage and or driving style, the active regeneration process cannot take place or is unable to regenerate the DPF, the dealer can force regenerate the DPF. This is achieved by driving the vehicle with the engine at its normal operating temperature, and often driving for approximately a further 20 minutes at speeds between 60 kilometers an hour to 120 kilometers an hour, 40 miles an hour to 70 mph. It is possible that the regeneration process will occur at lower speeds, but the events may take longer at a 48 kilometer, 30 mile an hour average speed. A DPF requires constant monitoring to ensure that it is operating at its optimum efficiency and does not become blocked. The PCM contains DPF software which controls the monitoring and operation of the DPF system, and also monitors other vehicle data to determine regeneration periods and service intervals. The DPF software can be divided into three separate control software functions: a DPF supervisor function, a DPF fuel management function, and a DPF air management function. These three functions are controlled by a fourth software function known as the DPF coordinator function. The coordinator function manages the operation of the other functions when an active regeneration is requested. The DPF fuel management function controls the following: timing and quantity of the 4 split injections. See there it says 4 split injections, but I think it's counting the 2 pre-injections as 1. Pilot main and 2 post injections. Injection pressure and the transition between the 3 different calibration levels of injection. The fuel management calculates the quantity and timing for the 4 split injections for each of the 3 calibration levels for injection pressure, and also manages the transmission between the levels. The 2 post injections are required to separate the functionality of increasing in-cylinder gas temperatures and the production of hydrocarbons. First post injection is used to generate the higher in-cylinder gas temperature while simultaneously retaining the same engine torque output produced during normal non-regeneration engine operation. The second post injection is used to generate hydrocarbons by allowing unburnt fuel into the catalytic converter without producing increased engine torque. Okay, I think that's enough of the boring stuff. It's handy if you know what it is, and it's just basically to let you know what's happening. So now we'll go on. This is Jaguar paperwork, remember, or JLR paperwork. It's not me saying this. Diesel particulate filter side effects. The following section details some side effects caused by the active regeneration process. Engine oil dilution. Engine oil dilution can occur due to small amounts of fuel entering the engine crankcase during the post-injection phases. This has made it necessary to introduce a calculation based on driving style to reduce oil service intervals if necessary. The driver is alerted to the oil service by a message in the instrument cluster. This is providing all this works as planned. The DPF software monitors the driving style and the frequency of the active regeneration and duration. Using this information, a calculation can be made on the engine oil dilution. When the DPF software calculates that the engine oil dilution has reached a predetermined threshold, fuel being 7% of engine oil volume, a service message is displayed in the dashboard, on the dashboard. I don't know where they find that acceptable 7% dilution of the oil. So I would like my oil to be diluted at all. That sounds just very odd to me. I suppose maybe they've calculated that into the viscosity of the oil, possibly, I don't know, but it just sounds way off to me. Depending on driving style, some vehicles may require an oil service before the designated interval. If a service message is displayed, the vehicle will be required to have a full service and the service interval counter will be reset. Fuel consumption. This is another side effect. During the active regeneration process of the DPF, there will be an increase in fuel consumption. However, because active regeneration occurs infrequently, the overall effect on fuel consumption is approximately 2%. So you're using 2% more fuel, or 2%. The additional fuel used during the active regeneration process is accounted for in the instantaneous and average fuel consumption displays in the instrument cluster. Okay, that's what it says in the Jaguar literature. So basically what it is, if you're going to be using your car to driving around town, then it's not good for the car, basically, because you'll end up with a lot of oil dilution, because what happens is the regeneration process will start, and stop, and you just end up with more fuel all the time going into the cylinders and diluting the oil. On the V6s, I mean, with the early S-types, I can't say with the Range Rovers, but with the early S-types, they were very reliable up until the regeneration system was fitted. After the regeneration system was fitted, they were very unreliable. I think the service intervals, and I think it followed on to the XFs as well, on the diesels was about 16,000 miles. I'm a little bit vague on that because all my customers, I just insist if they want me to service their cars, it'll be 5,000 mile servicing intervals all the time. Engine oil filter, not everything else. Everything else can go as recommended by the manufacturer, but the engine oil and the filter, I insist, must be changed. Not spot on 5,000, but thereabouts, around about 5,000 miles. It might be overdoing it, but not one of my customers has suffered with an engine failure, with a catastrophic engine failure. I'm not talking about things like fuel pumps or fuel filters that are stopping it, but actual problems with the engine that it's totally been destroyed. So it seems to be working at 5,000 miles. Jaguar, for some reason, I think the 2.73 litre was, and the 2.2, I think, the 2.2 diesel were, I think the service intervals from memory were, I mean, I'm sure someone will put me right in the comments if I'm wrong, but were about 16,000 miles and yearly and 16,000 miles, 16,500 miles, whichever came first. From the 2 litre Ingenium engine, you would have thought they would have bought, because they knew about this problem with the dilution in the oil, you would have thought, common sense would have said, well, hold on a minute, we know the cars are suffering with this side effect, this oil dilution, why don't we bring the service intervals down? But no, they put them up, I think they put them up about 21,000, 20,000, 21,000, somewhere around like that. As I say, I don't really read all their service schedules because I just stick to 5,000 mile and that's it. I can look it up if anybody wants to know in the comments for a definite answer, but I think it's around there. The reason the 2.2s didn't suffer with it so badly, I suppose, is the fact that if you've got 5 possible fuel injections into an engine, in a V6 you're going to be, as I say, 30 injections. In a 4-cylinder you're going to be 20 injections, which maybe helped save a lot of the problems with the 2.2. Whereas with the 2 litre Ingenium engines, they up the service intervals and you're still getting 20 injections per cycle, or possible 20 injections per cycle. The DPF2 afterwards are the main ones they appear to worry about, although I don't think 5 is a good thing anyway. But that's beside the point. But in the Ingenium engines, instead of going down for the service intervals, they go up. The problem is when you buy a car, you get full Jaguar service history or full Land Rover service history. The problem is that if they're changing that oil at 21,000 miles and they've suffered with their driving style, driving around town and it's causing oil dilution, I'm afraid the damage may well have been already started. The wear in the engine has already started, because remember, oil, under anything in the engine, any moving part in the engine, and some unmoving parts, but any moving part in the engine that are fed by oil pressure are going to wear. If you've got diluted oil, they're going to wear. It's obvious, it's common sense, they're going to wear. So it's everything basically, even down to the oil jets that cool your pistons. You have like oil jets fitted at the bottom that squirt oil up onto your pistons, cool the pistons, and they also lubricate the cylinders. Well, the cylinders don't move, but they lubricate the cylinders for the pistons rings to come down and move up and down on a lubricated cylinder. If you've got oil, you've got fuel coming down there, diesel fuel, it's drying out that cylinder, which is causing cylinder wear, can cause cylinder wear, and can cause the rings to wear, and obviously the rest of it, even your turbo is oil pressure, it's fed by oil pressure. So if you're getting diluted oil into your turbo, the turbos turn at 20,000 revs per minute, I can't remember, something like that. I don't really take turbos apart or anything, so I'm not that up on them. A turbo specialist would tell you that. I think it's somewhere around 20,000, but if that turbo spinning with diluted oil, it ain't going to do the turbo much good, is it? That is basically what it's about. So you've got the driving style, got the oil dilution, then you've got the lengthened oil services. That's all what you're advised to do by the manufacturer. And when you read a lot of literature, even on aftermarket people, they say you should follow the recommendations by the manufacturer. Well, in this case, I say don't follow the recommendation by the manufacturer. It's at 5,000 miles, all right, it's a little more, a little bit of expense every 5,000 miles, but on the whole, if it's saving you a new engine, I don't know what they charge, £18,000 or something. If it saves you that amount of money and it gives you peace of mind, change your oil at 5,000 miles plus a new oil filter. Don't worry, the other services you can follow the manufacturer's recommended intervals, fine, that's not a problem. It's the engine, oil and filter you want to change. Right, now going on to the legal side of it is, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to say, you can do this, you can do that, but the problem is, you either want to claim off of Jaguar, or, and this is, I'm reading this from the Land Rover side of it, okay? Land Rover are constantly seeking to improve the specification, design and production of their vehicles, and alterations take place accordingly. Whilst every effort is made to ensure the accuracy of this manual, it should not be regarded as an infallible guide to current specifications of any particular vehicle. This manual does not constitute, this is the part, an offer for sale of any particular vehicle. Land Rover dealers are not agents of Land Rover and have no authority to bind the manufacturer by any expressed or implied undertaking or representation. Now that's what they're saying. So therefore, if you've bought, say, a second-hand car or a used car from a Jaguar dealer or a Land Rover dealer, and you've got full service history, and you're happy to buy it, and then the engine destroys itself after 20,000 miles or whatever, so you've got a low mileage used car, who do you sue, or who do you go after for some compensation? Is it Jaguar or is it the dealer that sold you the car? Because basically it's not Jaguar that sold you the car, it's the Land Rover dealer or the Jaguar dealer that sold you the car. I imagine this applies to the Jaguar dealer as well as the Land Rover dealer. I mean, each manual tells you different things, but finding bits in each manual is very difficult. I mean, I think that the Land Rover manual has sort of 24,000 pages. Yeah, 24, but is it? Yeah, 24,000 pages, which is a lot of pages. So it's basically, I don't know, a lawyer would probably be able to tell you, if you go after if the Land Rover dealer or Jaguar dealer says, oh no, it's Jaguar says we're only going to do this, I mean, perhaps you'd be better off going after the person that sold you the car, which is Land Rover. At the end of the day, this should have been, or you should have been forewarned about this. When you buy a car with this system on it, and they know that this system causes the problems, you should have been told about it. You should have been notified it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's in the handbooks, you know, the car handbooks. I don't know, I haven't really read one, but if it is in the handbooks, then you should have read the handbook, and they can possibly put the blame onto you and say, well, no, you know, all that information was given to you. If it's not in the handbook, then you should have been told, or it should have been given to you in writing, in writing preferably. But there again, if you're selling a vehicle and you say to them, look, you can only drive this in a certain way, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you probably aren't going to buy it, because I wouldn't. I really don't want to get in a car and have to worry about driving here, there, or, you know, wherever I'm driving, and in what style I drive it, you know, as long as you're not. We all got enough common sense to realise that you don't do certain things with a car, but you don't expect, if you just want to drive it up and down the road a few times, that you're going to do it that much damage. So basically, I would say you should have definitely been notified when buying the car, and it should have been in writing, and you should have been forewarned of what you're getting yourself into. They knew about it, they haven't hidden it, Jaguar haven't hidden it, the manufacturers haven't hidden it. It's been in the workshop manuals. The dealers, Jaguar dealers, Range, you know, Land Rover dealers, should know about it. I can't say for definite they've read the manual, but they should know about it, and they should have passed that information on to you. So, if you have any questions, please ask me in the comments, and then I can go through it. I won't go on anymore, because I think that's enough for now. And hopefully you've enjoyed watching, and it's given you some idea. But remember, you can buy one with full service history that's done 40 or 50,000 miles, and it means diddly squat. You know, the engine, once it's taken that wear, remember that oil pressure affects timing chains, affects turbos, it affects your crankshaft, your big ends, your main bearings. It affects your cylinders, your piston rings, even the splash fed stuff on the top. You know, maybe a lot of your valve gear is splash fed, so on and so forth. It'll affect everything. Wherever the oil goes, oil dilution will affect it. So in some cases higher, in some cases lower. I don't know if these systems Jaguar have put in place work. I don't know if these warnings come up on the dash. I really don't know, but as I say, any questions, or you want to go deeper into it or whatever, just please say so in the comments, and thank you for watching the video.